German Chancellor Friedrich Merz visited the Polish capital Warsaw to meet with Prime Minister Donald Tusk to discuss EU issues and bilateral ties.
After demonstrating against the government for 6 months, the student movement in Serbia is now demanding early parliamentary elections.
Less than a day after Germany's Friedrich Merz's chancellorship was approved by the Bundestag, he's already making his first state visits. The German leader has arrived in the Polish capital Warsaw, where he's set to hold talks with Prime Minister Donald Tusk. Merz and Tusk are expected to discuss current EU and international agendas and security and defense issues. They're also expected to discuss their respective bilateral ties and explore ways to further boost their cooperation across various fields. Merz stressed the importance of ensuring the 27-member bloc's border security and vowed to work on tightening its migration policies.
Sie wissen es vermutlich, es gibt eine Initiative einiger Länder der Europäischen Union, es ist Dänemark, die Niederlande und Italien. Es haben sich viele Länder dieser Initiative angeschlossen, jetzt noch einmal die gemeinsame europäische Asyl- und Einwanderungspolitik zu verschärfen. Meine Bundesregierung, die neue Bundesregierung, wird sich dieser Initiative anschließen. Und wir werden versuchen, hier gemeinsam zu entsprechenden Entscheidungen zu kommen. Wir wissen, dass wir am Ende in einer Welt leben, wo wir diese Antwort nur zusammen geben können in der gesamten Europäischen Union. Und das ist das Ziel auch der neuen Bundesregierung.
Migration was one of the most important topics in the German federal elections this year. In his campaign, Merz had vowed to take a more hardline stance and crack down on illegal migration in both Germany and the EU.
Germany's newly elected Chancellor Friedrich Merz made his first official visit abroad to France on Wednesday, hoping to relaunch the Franco-German relationship. Both him and French President Emmanuel Macron announced during a press conference some key security initiatives, including a Franco-German Defense and Security Council, vowing to act hand in hand when it comes to mounting security challenges across Europe. And when it comes to the war in Ukraine, although both were cautious of announcing anything concrete like the deployment of peacekeeping troops, both leaders did say that they were ready to provide security guarantees to Kyiv the moment that a lasting peace treaty and ceasefire have been concluded. The German Chancellor stressed multiple times the importance of the United States' role with trying to end Russia's full-scale invasion. But beyond defense, the German Chancellor is also looking to reset ties with Paris and also with other countries abroad after a bumpy start at home when on Tuesday he failed to be elected in the first round of voting within the German parliament. But his more flexible stance on fiscal rules and defense spending have been warmly welcomed here at the Élysée Palace. Still, key differences remain, like, for example, when it comes to the free trade Mercosur agreement. The French president warned that any treaty must protect European producers, whilst Merz during the press conference said that this treaty should be ratified as quickly as possible. And although both leaders did show quite a united stance this Wednesday, it's true that Europe's future will depend on how this new Franco-German duo will navigate what comes next.
After demonstrating against the government for 6 months, the student movement in Serbia is now demanding early parliamentary elections. The pressure over the deadly awning collapse at a train station in Novi Sad already caused a series of arrests. Students now say that the voice of youth is not just noise, but a force that can initiate changes.
Mi se stvarno nadamo da će vlast podržati ove vanredne izbore. Što se tiče liste, dogovorili smo se jedino da studenti ne budu na toj listi. Za dalje ćemo se dogovarati kako će se lista ta oformiti.
Serbian opposition says that in the last few months, the ruling coalition has lost its legitimacy to lead the country. The Green Left Front says that it can provide support to students because they have the same goal: the revival of institutions and the democratization of society.
Ipak mislim da suštinski zahtev za vanrednim parlamentarnim izborima I zahtev za prelaznom vladom su isti. Mislim da je cilj da prvo razvlastimo SNS, a da onda nakon toga sa jasnom većinom idemo ka boljem društvu I ka boljim izbornim uslovima.
SPS party MP Uglesia Markovic, who is part of the ruling coalition, said the current parliamentary majority is stable. He believes the way to improve society is not through the polling stations, but through political dialogue.
Socijalistička partija Srbije se nikada nije plašila izbora. Mi, kao što vrlo dobro znate, nismo za vanredne izbore. Uvijek ponavljamo da je potrebno da postoji jedan ciklus koji se održava na 4 godine kako bismo imali jedan kontinuitet.
The vast majority of liberal opposition parties in Serbia supported the call of student protesters for snap elections. But whether or not they will happen is yet to be seen.
Chinese President Xi Jinping arrived in Moscow on Wednesday for a 4-day visit ahead of Friday's Second World War Victory Day events. President Vladimir Putin called Xi Jinping his main guest, with talks planned on trade, energy, BRICS and their strategic partnership. Brazil's President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva also arrived in Moscow on Wednesday, his first official visit since Russia's full-blown invasion of Ukraine. On the same day, Putin also welcomed Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. The pair signed bilateral agreements which included cooperation on arms control and strengthening the global nuclear non-proliferation regime, according to state-owned Russian news agency TASS. Cuban President Miguel Díaz-Canel is also on the guest list. Meanwhile, Serbian President Aleksandar Vučić faced travel disruption en route to the parade, with Baltic states reportedly denying airspace access. On Wednesday, Vučić's plane landed unplanned in Baku due to Russian airspace restrictions near Moscow, possibly over drone concerns. His plane later received clearance and continued to Moscow from Baku. Slovak Prime Minister Robert Fico reportedly experienced similar airspace difficulties. Idan is one of the 35 hostages killed, and his body is still held by Hamas. Killed on October 7, 2023 during the attack on the music festival in southern Israel. His father wants the Portuguese authorities to make arrangements for the body of the Portuguese Israeli to be returned to his family.
You have citizen hostage, the Gaza. You must wake up and you say, stop Hamas.
Israel believes that at least 20 of the 59 hostages are still alive. One of them could be the young Tamir, an instructor in the Israeli army. He was 18 when he was taken by Hamas from his base near the border with northern Gaza on October 7, 2023. The Israeli government's plan to occupy the entire enclave is not good news for the victims' families. But Tamir's father puts the political issue aside.
I'm just a simple man, person, father, that his life was collapsed on October 7th. So I don't know what's right and what's wrong.
Daqui da capital portuguesa segue mais um pedido para que Portugal ajude a libertar os que ainda permanecem sob cativeiro na faixa de Gaza. Mas o general das Forças de Defesa de Israel, responsável pelas negociações sobre os reféns, fez um alerta que coloca o ónus no governo de Benjamin Netanyahu. Diz que há uma relação direta entre a expansão das operações militares no enclave palestiniano e o aumento da violência sobre os cativos por parte do Hamas. Avisa mesmo que a nova ofensiva anunciada por Israel poderá ter consequências desastrosas. João Azevedo, Euronews, Lisboa.
32. Vote is closed.
The message is clear. Turkey's EU accession process, stalled since 2018, cannot be relaunched under the current circumstances. This is the conclusion of a report on Turkey approved by the European Parliament on Wednesday. arrest of the mayor of Istanbul, repression of anti-government protests, human rights violations. The MEPs denounced the ongoing backslide in democracy.
The accession process is frozen. There are no progress in any way. On the contrary, Turkey probably is the only country backsliding in democratic standards, and for that reason, what we maintain is the idea that the accession process is suspended and well suspended, because we didn't receive any good news on democratic standard from the year 13 till now, and the last detention and harassment of the Mayor Imamoglu is probably the peak of this repressive trend.
Security, trade and migration. Turkey remains a strategic partner of the EU and ally within NATO. In a debate at the European Parliament, the Commissioner for Enlargement stressed the need to deepen cooperation with Ankara.
The 2016 EU-Turkey statement on migration continues to yield results. Irregular arrivals from Turkey to the EU have fallen by 33% so far in this year, compared with the same period last year.
For his part, the rapporteur calls for Turkey's accession to the EU not to be definitely ruled out.
We have to distinguish between the country and the current rulers. It's true that under the AKP ruling it's impossible to advance because there are no the political will to advance in democracy and values, but there is a vibrant civil society asking us, imploring us not to shut the door. They want to maintain the hope that maybe in the future, with another rulers, with another country, with another environment, it could be an opportunity again for Turkey to re-engage with the European Union on the basis of membership.
The rapporteur insists there are no shortcuts to EU membership.